Okay, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to our special board meeting today at April 5th. I, Antonio Martinez, President of the Governing Board for San Ysidro School District, would like to call this special board meeting to order at 5 p.m. I'd like to ask that all members of the board to mute their devices at this time. Trustees of the San Ysidro School District and the public shall participate in this meeting via teleconference. The public may view the open session part of this meeting by accessing the YouTube link provided on the agenda. To listen to this meeting in Spanish, please call 321-351-6795 and enter the access code 828-507-684#. Para escuchar esta junta en español, por favor llame al 321-351-6795 y ingrese el código de acceso 828-507-684, signo de gato. Members of the public are welcome to record this meeting using their own personal devices. Prior to roll call, I would like to make clear for the record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes, that this governing board meeting is conducted pursuant to Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-29-20. Dr. Potter, as our superintendent and secretary to the board, can you please conduct the roll call for attendance?
Thank you, Mr. President. Agenda item number 2, roll call, beginning with board member Mrs. Irene Lopez.
Here.
Board member Humberto Germilan.
Present.
Board clerk Mrs. Rosalia Palasigue. Not sure if I heard you, Mrs. Palasigue.
Okay. Present.
There we go. Thank you. Board Vice President, Mr. Rudy Lopez.
Here.
And Board President, Mr. Antonio Martinez.
Present.
And Mr. President, all 5 board members are here.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. We do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. I would now like to request that each board member respond to the following questions. We're going to start with board member Irene Lopez. Mrs. Lopez, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Were you able to hear proceedings on this end until now?
Yes.
And do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. Mr. Gurmilan, board member Gurmilan, can you hear me well?
Yes.
And were you able to hear proceedings on this end until now?
I could.
And do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Gurmilan. Mrs. Palasigue, board clerk Palasigue, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Were you able to hear our proceedings on this end until now?
Yes.
And do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Mrs. Palasigue. Mr. Lopez, Vice President Lopez, can you hear me well?
I can.
Were you able to hear our proceedings on this end until now?
I could.
And do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. We're gonna move on to number 3, which is flag salute. Please join me in the flag salute. We'll be displaying a picture of the flag on the screen. And I would ask those in the meeting, including other board members, to please mute to avoid feedback during the salute. And I will lead us in the flag salute. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on that note, we're going to move on to number 4, which is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Palasigue, a second by Mr. Gurmilan. Any other corrections, additions? Hearing none. Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item number 4, approval of the agenda, beginning with board member Irene Lopez.
Yes.
Board member Humberto Germilan.
Aye.
Board clerk Rosalia Palasigue.
Aye.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
And Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. We're going to move on to number 5, which is public comment communications on closed session items. Mr. Mata, do we have any public comment on closed session items?
Good evening, Mr. President, board, and guests. No, we do not have any public comments for closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mata. In that case, I'd like to like to hear a motion for us to recess into closed session. In closed session, we'll be talking about the following items. 6.1, conference with legal counsel pending litigation. 6.2, Government Code Section 54957, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment. 6.3, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators. Do I have a motion for us to recess into closed session?
So
I'll
moved.
make the motion.
Okay, I heard Mr. Gurmilan first, so Mr. Gurmilan makes a motion and Mrs. Lopez makes the second. Okay, Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote? And this is for us to recess at 5:05 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote, beginning with Board Member Irene Lopez,
Yes.
Board Member Humberto Gurmilan,
Aye.
Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue,
Aye.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
and Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes,
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
thank you, Dr. Potter. And on that note, we'll be recessing at 5:05 p.m. and we'll be back once we're done. See everyone there in closed session. Okay, it's approaching 6 p.m. I think we're missing Irene and Dr. Potter. So wait a couple more minutes. Is anyone in the DO right now that could call for Dr. Potter to?
She's in there. Let me go check.
Yeah, that way we can get her on, and then Irene. Oh, there's Dr. Potter now. Perfect. Now we're missing Leah. There she is. So I think the only one we're missing is Irene. I don't know if somebody wants to reach out to her, but I'm going to get started.
Miss Monica, would you mind calling Miss Irene?
I'll call her, Dr. Potter.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. So we're going to get started. I want us to reconvene into open session. We're doing that at 6:01 p.m. We have nothing to report from closed session. No actions were taken. Dr. Potter, can you please do roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Conducting the roll call at 6:02 p.m., beginning with Board Member Humberto Germilan.
Here.
Thank you. Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue.
Here.
Thank you. Board Vice President Rudy Lopez.
Here.
Thank you. Board President Antonio Martinez.
Present.
And Mr. President, the one board member who is just likely slightly delayed in logging in is Board Member Irene Lopez.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. It's 4 of us. So we're going to move on. And when Ms. Lopez arrives, we'll document her time in the minutes. So we're going to move on to number 7, which is public comment communications on open session items. Mr. Mata, do we have any public comment on open session items?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have one public comment on the telephone. We have no email comments at this time.
Okay.
We do have one person that will be commenting on 2 different agenda items.
Perfect.
Okay, Mr. Ortega, could we let Mr. Madison in?
Yes, I'll go ahead and admit him now, Mr. Mata.
Thank you. Mr. Madison, can you hear me? Mr. Todd Madison, can you hear me?
Yes. Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are unmuted, Mr. Madison, and I just want to let you know that you have 3 minutes. You have 2 public comments, one on agenda item 8.3 and one on agenda item 8.4. So you'll be allocated 3 minutes comment on each agenda item. You may start with the 8.3 at your leisure.
Just like right now, or?
Yes, you can start right now, Mr. Madison, and then we'll start the clock.
Oh, got it. I didn't know we were speaking. Okay. So I'm Todd Madison on item 8.3. What I wanted to say is tonight we have a request to approve an off-schedule bonus for the members of the San Ysidro Education Association. We greatly appreciate the work our teachers have done to put into educating our kids during the pandemic with nothing but the best things to say about them. In making this decision, however, the board needs to consider several facts. Fact 1, as of the first interim, the district's budget was declared qualified, which means the district could not project the ability to stay solvent in the future. Fact 2 is on February 11th, the board adopted a resolution to cut $1 to $2 million from the budget. Fact 3 is disclosure here indicates a cost of $1.4 million paid for by the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant, which is state COVID funding. Fact 4, the County Office of Education's analysis response letter indicates the district is now required to incorporate necessary budget revisions within 45 days of approval. And fact 5, according to the district's pay records obtained through public record request, in 2019, the median total compensation of a full-time member of this employee group was $125,452 a year. So questions for the board. Number 1, why is the district hiding the county's analysis from its board? Are they willing to accept that? Question 2, why is the district not disclosing how this will impact the cuts just approved 2 months ago? Question 3, why will the district cut from our kids to fund its own bonuses? Question 4, is using $1.4 million out of the money designed to expand learning opportunities for kids to instead give bonuses to well-paid employees really the best way to use those funds for the benefits of our kids? And then question 5, do the parents of the district, your constituents, agree it's preferable to use this money for things that benefit well-paid adults and not their kids? Shouldn't this be something they're asked? Thank you. Okay, then.
Mr. Madison, 8 point, now you may proceed on to agenda item 8.4, and you'll be allocated another 3 minutes. So you may start anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Hi, Todd Madison again. Here we have our second bonus approval, this time for certificated management and classified confidential staff. In the prior item, we reviewed some facts. We have an addition to that list. Fact 6, according to the district's own pay records obtained through PRA request, in 2019, the median total compensation of administrators in the district was $163,735 per year. The questions asked earlier apply here as well. Why is the district with questionable financials not disclosing the county's analysis to its board when asking for raises for itself? And why are they also not disclosing what they propose cutting from our kids to fund it? To add to the earlier questions, why is the district not including its own analysis of the compensation level of these employees? When determining whether an employee should be given a bonus, isn't it important to know what that employee makes to begin with? Question 2, why should the board not demand that prior to making this decision? Why would they not do that? Question 3, why is the district not complying with California Code 3540.2, Section C, which requires a district with a qualified budget that is proposing increased spending to notify each parent and teacher organization first? Question 4, why, when proposing more money for adults making 6 figures at the expense of funding for kids, do we ignore the law requiring parent involvement? These are all things that any board representing the interest of parents and their kids should be demanding on their own. Will you do that? For parents who agree our kids should come first, consider joining the San Diego Schools and Parent Association advocacy organizations. They're at sandiegoschools.net and parentassociation.org, respectively. We need to stop just asking and start demanding that our board pay attention to what works best for our kids first, not just what benefits adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madison, for your comments. Board President, that's the only comments that we have for open session.
Thank you, Mr. Mata. So we're going to move on to general administration, which is 8.1.
Excuse me, Mr. President, for the record, our board member Irene Lopez joined at 6:03 p.m.
Perfect. Okay, and that note, so we have a quorum. We have 5 board members present. We're going to move on to 8.1, which is agreement with primary health for COVID application services. Do I have a motion to approve the agreement with primary health for services related to COVID-19 testing?
So moved.
I'll second.
Do we have a motion by Mr. Lopez, a second by Mrs. Palasigue? Do we have any discussion on the item? Hearing none, Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item number 8.1, beginning with board member Irene Lopez. Mrs. Lopez, I believe your microphone is muted.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
very much, Mrs. Lopez. Board Member Humberto Gurmilan,
Aye.
Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue,
Yes.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez,
Aye.
and Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. We're going to move on to 8.2, agreement with the Regents of the University of California for medical consulting services. Do I have a motion to approve, ratify the agreement?
So move.
Second.
I heard a motion from Mr. Gurmilan, a second by Mr. Lopez. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 8.2, Board Member Irene Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Thank you. Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue.
Yes.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
And Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. We're going to move on to 8.3. I'm hearing feedback, so if anybody can mute themselves while we move through the process. So 8.3, AB 1200, and amendment number 2 to the collective bargaining memorandum of understanding with the San Ysidro Education Association. Do I have a motion to approve, ratify the submittal of AB 1200 to the San Diego County Office of Education and amendment number 2 to the collective bargaining agreement with the San Ysidro Education Association to implement the hybrid learning program?
So moved.
I'll second.
Do we have a motion by Mr. Lopez, a second by Mr. Gurmilan? Any discussion? Hearing none, Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 8.3, Board Member Irene Lopez.
I think you're muted, Mrs. Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Humberto Gurmilan.
Aye.
Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue.
Aye.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
And Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. 8.4, AB 1200 for classified and certificated management and classified confidential staff. Do I have a motion to approve AB 1200 for classified certificate management and classified confidential staff for the 2020-2021 school year and the submittal of AB 1200 to the San Diego County Office of Education to implement the hybrid learning program and to extend the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mrs. Palasigue, a second by Mr. Gurmilan. Discussion? Hearing none, Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item 8.4, Board Member Irene Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Humberto Gurmilan.
Aye.
Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue.
Yes.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:13 p.m.?
So move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Gurmilan, second by Mrs. Palasigue. Dr. Potter, can you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Calling for the roll call vote for agenda item number 9, adjournment at 6:13 p.m. Board Member Irene Lopez.
Yes.
Board Member Humberto Gurmilan.
Yes.
Board Clerk Rosalia Palasigue.
Yes.
Board Vice President Rudy Lopez.
Aye.
And Board President Antonio Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez, the vote passes 5-0.
Great. And on that note, I want to say good evening to everyone. We're adjourning our meeting today at 6:13 p.m. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Good
I
job.
really appreciate it.
Yeah. Very good job,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you.
Perfect. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night,
Have a good evening.
everyone. Thank you. We'll see, for those of you joining us
Thanks.
tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow at the 4:30.
Wow.
The tech check-in